Now that Bang Energy has passed Rockstar Energy for the third biggest energy drink company, what will Monster Energy have up its sleeve in 2020 to ensure that they are not looking at the backside of Jack Owoc as he flies past them in his G550 private jet? Before all the banksters start cheering on how Monster Energy is the next one to fall to the Bang Energy's fast-moving empire, let's kind of give you a base of understanding around the financial details between Bang Energy and Monster Energy. I think that will kind of quiet a lot of the banksters and make them kind of calm down a little bit and say that 2020 is definitely probably not the year that you're going to catch Monster Energy. So Bang Energy, kind of start with them. They are a privately held company, so I don't have SEC audited financials, but I can kind of look at track channel data on Nielsen or IRI or any of the other number of data sources, and I can kind of predict what the untracked channels, especially specialty channel that Bang Energy is really strong in, kind of create a prediction in terms of what the 2019 revenue net sales number was for Bang Energy. And I'm going to put that at somewhere around $1.1 billion. Now, as a comparison, Monster Energy just put out their 2019 Q4 earnings, and their full year of 2019's net sales were $4.2 billion. And actually, the last 3 months, they did a little over $1 billion in net sales. So even if Bang Energy kind of keeps on a torrid pace of 100%, so doubling for the next 2 years, so doubling in 2020 and doubling in 2021, you're going to go from, that $1.1 billion net sales to $2.2 billion to $4.4 billion, which, by the way, is absurd and is statistically unlikely. But let's just kind of say that they do, and let's say that Monster Energy just kind of keeps chugging away at their 10% year over year. Bang Energy would still not pass Monster Energy until sometime in 2022. Now, just to give you guys a little bit more of kind of some sales data and cut these out of Monster's investor presentation that they recently gave to all of their stockholders. So this first slide is around the U.S. convenience channel tracked Nielsen data from the last 13 weeks ending December 28, 2019. For those that might not realize, C-stores are around like $10 billion of the $13 billion U.S. categorical sales of energy drinks. So this is kind of where the majority of sales happen, and this is kind of where the majority of the data is kind of most important if you're trying to figure out, how a energy drink player is going to do when they get up to a certain size of their business. So Monster Energy had $805 million. So this is just the Monster Energy, not NOS or some of the other kind of brands within their portfolio. And this was down 4.7%. Additionally, if you think about this with Reign, their new offering, they had $75 million in those 13 weeks. And that reverses the growth of Monster Energy and kind of puts them up, if you count Monster and Reign together, up around like 3%. And what I think right now, with Reign being new and Reign obviously being kind of the Me Too product to attack Bang, Monster's customers, there's a little bit of a cannibalization across the brands. Now, if you look at that, you also see that Bang Energy had $193 million in the convenience tracked channels, and that was up 91.3% year over year. Similarly, if we jump to some same data, but just on a trailing 5-week basis, you'll see some numbers that might have you thinking that the Bang explosion is slowing down under kind of this natural law of averages. So that's kind of what I was talking about with the absurd statistical unlikely growth rate when you start getting up to these big numbers. But you never know. I've seen a lot of crazy things over my years, so I'm not going to put anything past anybody. So if Bang Energy and Jack Owoc can make it happen, then hey, all the power to those guys. But in these last 5 weeks of tracked channel data from Nielsen. In the convenience channel in the US, you had Monster, just their Monster Energy, at $300 million. That was down 3.7%. Additionally, if you add Reign again, that was a $28.5 million, and that reverses growth up to about 5%. So you're seeing the 1-2 punch of Monster Energy and Reign working better now. And then you had Bang Energy at $69 million, which was only up 68.2%. So why is this battle so important in the beverage industry as a whole? Like, why am I talking, and why do I talk a lot around the energy drink market, even though I do handle projects outside of just the energy drink beverage category? It's because beverage giants like Coca-Cola, PepsiCo, Keurig Dr. Pepper, and even Nestle are all looking at the energy category as the growth darling of the major beverage categories. And it's contributing an additional $1 billion a year in growth. So when you see things like Coke Energy or Pepsi Cafe or Nestle Enhanced Energy Water and a slew of other launches from some of the other portfolios, it's because these beverage portfolios are looking to get growth in this emerging large beverage category. This is extremely important for them. So you're going to see a ton of aggressive actions coming from these beverage portfolios over these next couple of years. And I also want to kind of bring up that Monster is kind of playing only with Red Bull in terms of like global footprint of an energy drink. So the energy drink and energy category of beverages, this is a global trend. This isn't just a U.S. trend. So if we kind of get outside of the U.S. market, like I said, it's only really a two-person race currently of Red Bull and Monster Energy, family of brands, which Monster kind of uses a bunch of different brands globally. They don't just use the Monster Energy brand. And you also see a little bit of the Coke Energy international data showing up on this international chart mix. So with all of this competition that's coming into the energy drink market, what does Monster Energy have planned in 2020 to take control of the US market from Red Bull, which is kind of closely aligned to each other in the US market in terms of total sales and market share, and also make sure that competitors like Bang Energy and others don't take away their customers and new entrants into the market. So I kind of want to look at this only from like two perspectives. I'm not going to break down some of the operational things or financial things or any of that. I'm really just going to be talking about the marketing side of things and also like product development side of things. So on the marketing side, overall, Monster Energy has stayed pretty consistent in terms of the sales, marketing, promotion, mix, percentage of total revenue that they've used over the last couple of years. So they haven't had to like pull a ton of different levers and really ramp up their customer acquisition costs, even in the light of all this competition. So they've been able to kind of find a good mix of, be that marketing, promotions, product development, maybe some operational gains or other things that have helped them kind of stay pretty neutral on their margins overall. Now, getting into kind of the marketing side of things, Monster Energy has always had a bit of like kind of this bad boy, extreme sports vibe to its marketing. And that has continued over the last year and is projected to definitely kind of continue in 2020. This has been their game plan for the longest time. You have Monster Energy sponsoring kind of big sports organizations that fit what I was just talking about with kind of this bad boy extreme sports vibe. So you have them sponsoring NASCAR, the UFC, MotoGP, X Games, the professional bull riders, and a bunch of other ones. They also have sponsored champions in just about every one of those sports they align themselves with. So they're also kind of saying, hey, we're taking the whole organization and we're going to be sponsoring those organizations, the sports, but also finding and sponsoring individual champions that fit the ethos of the brand. They're also going heavy into the UFC with both major map placements, so continuing to kind of work with the big lime green M in the middle of the UFC events, and then also working on major fights with individual fighter clothing to make sure that they're kind of working it on all angles. Two areas I really like their kind of extension into marketing recently is with esports. I believe Esports is going to overtake many of the major sports organizations in the future, probably a pretty long way in terms of the future of sports organizations as kind of the most watched and participated in by youth. So I think getting deep into esports is important for companies like Monster Energy or any other company that's kind of aligned with these types of customers. And then secondly, I love an area that they're kind of working on in the sense of like inclusive marketing, targeting groups like Latin music, Hispanic festivals, sneaker culture, and working with a ton of like individual influencers that are targeted to specific customer groups that don't necessarily get spoken to when you're working with a lot of like national modal advertising. You also see them doing a good job at defining each Monster product extension target group with like content, different advertising campaigns, influencers, and a bunch of other things. And you can kind of see this with first like their Ultra Monster energy drinks, which is a personal favorite of mine, going with the full flavor, zero sugar kind of platform. You have them working on the Java Monster one, basically saying coffee with an attitude. So kind of giving that a little bit of a spin that has shown that it's grown pretty well in the market. You have the Monster Muscle, which is kind of based around more of like hardcore training and recovery. It's kind of the protein and energy drink play that I think you're going to see more and more that's going to come out over the next couple of years with competitors. And then also they have their kind of hydro line, which has some unique packaging. I like a lot of that kind of clear packaging that they were utilizing with the product initially when it came out. This is their kind of like hard charging hydration sports drink type of play towards like a more athletic type of a customer. Now moving into product, and I kind of stuck one of like the product extensions out of what I was talking about with marketing, and that one is with Rain. Most of the excitement last year surrounded the launch of Rain. This is the Me Too Bang Energy defensive product offering that is positioned in line with them in channel and marketing. They currently have, I think, 9 flavors in this kind of first year of Rain, which if you think about this with a product line that sells a lot more like the Ultra lineup, it's kind of amazing the amount of flavors that they've already launched. And it's kind of unknown how many more they'll launch in 2020. They kind of have a shadowed kind of can say, pay attention to this area. And this is because in terms of like it being a Me Too offering to Bang Energy, they have, I think, around 21 flavors right now of Bang Energy. So they have a lot more flavors. And actually the CEO of Monster Energy, Rodney Sachs, has kind of talked about this discoverability era of consumers. They're really looking at new flavors and new products. So you have to kind of keep that story going. And because you need to keep that story going, the easiest way to do that is with new constant flavor launches. New for 2020 is the Rain Inferno that takes many elements from kind of the Celsius Heat lineup, if you're familiar with those products. This is also a brand that is growing like 40 to 50% year over year, but is still under $100 million in revenue. I think it's important, though, that Monster Energy respects these smaller brands, as they were a little too late to the game to completely shut down the growth of Bang Energy. And they can't allow that to happen again with products like Celsius or Cellucor C4. Additionally, Monster will be rolling out new flavors of its extremely successful Ultra lineup. So excited about that. I think both of them just launched recently, and I'm going to have to definitely try those out. Also, an additional 300 milligram triple shot Java Monster. So moving the top end of the caffeine up on other product extensions. They believe that kind of the 300 mark is acceptable at this point. I remember, when somebody was talking about 240 on Rockstar, and that was crazy. Now 300. So I'm assuming, we'll move to 350 and 400 pretty soon here. They're also having a super sport hydro offering, so they can kind of get deeper into the sports drink hydration market. So I want to finally kind of end on some thoughts around Monster Energy and its kind of predicted strategic movements within the product development and marketing kind of section. I've been a consistent consumer of Monster Energy since, somewhere around 2012 when they came out with their Ultra White product. Thought it was a really great product. It was very unique, comparable to a lot of the energy drink flavors before just kind of being the plain ones. And it definitely pushed energy drinks to a new level. But I want to kind of take that out and the bias out by being a consumer and just kind of being an objective outside consultant. And I believe that there's kind of the increased positivity of the energy drink category as a whole, just both from the ingredients and the brands within the energy drink category. I think Monster Energy is going to benefit from that. I think them being a leader in the category, especially in the US, that's going to help them attract some of the new entrants. I also think with Coke Energy coming out and them kind of going even lower on the caffeine scale and kind of entering the market with a product that is very well known and also very relatable to a lot of Americans that are used to drinking a Diet Coke or a Coke Zero. So I think while those customers eventually they kind of work up towards some new products, like stepping up into new products that maybe are a little bit stronger, I think that Monster Energy will have the benefit of getting some of those new entrants as they kind of mature in the energy drink category. So for me, I think that Monster Energy will be definitely looking at another 10% year over year growth rate, which will put them kind of ahead of the categorical baseline growth of, I'm guessing, probably 7 or 8% again this year. If I was a Monster Energy, I would kind of continue to look for inspiration down into the smaller brands in the energy drink space. I think you're going to need to take some more of those nutraceutical ingredients, especially some nootropic ingredients, brain productivity type of focus ingredients, kind of spin that into like a smart energy product like Cycor is doing. I think it's better to kind of get into that early than going through that same game of defensive product development launches. As for the marketing side, I don't necessarily think there's anything wrong with the plan in which they kind of put out there for 2020. I think that Monster Energy has been extremely consistent over the years building out their brand's persona. I don't think that there's much of an issue on that point from kind of a macro level. But I would say that they need to definitely look past just the macro side and look towards maybe some of the micro influencers, nano influencers, and really be thoughtful in the way that they approach that strategy, find the right people, because you want to make sure you are getting to different consumer groups on a deep level and hoping that kind of consistently kind of build out more customers, new customers into your funnel in a category that is growing and the perception of the category is becoming more and more positive. I think that would be a really good strategy for Monster Energy to kind of look at and make sure that they're implementing in 2020.
Thank you so much for watching this video. If you want to help support me, make sure you guys hit that thumbs up button on this video. If this is the first time you've been introduced to my videos, would love for you guys to be a part of my community by subscribing to my channel. I upload several videos just like this weekly. And if you guys want to connect further outside of this platform, I do include all of my social media links down below. I just want to thank you guys again for your time. Hopefully I gave you some value in return, and we'll see you guys on the next video.